All right. Oh, still some more people dropping in. Yeah. And welcome, Daniel. So, again, welcome to my session about Headless. First, for people, oh no, not for people. First, a big thank you to our valued sponsors, of course. It's a great bunch. We can have the chance to meet every year here, so thanks to all of them for making that happen. What we have in this session is a short recap cap on how we are and how we got here with DNN. And during the last 10 years, I think, the rise of Headless. And what I have been doing in the last 3 years is a lot of enterprise content management, so larger corporations, government bodies. I'll try to illustrate how that works in real life. And one of the challenges that we are facing with migrations during all these adventures. But first, a little bit about me, for people who don't know me. I am not a developer. I was educated as a marketing professional and communication. I started at the Chamber of Commerce, so the trade register and large websites, I think about 20,000 pages, 30 editors around the country. Then I decided that if you stay too long in a government body, which the Chamber of Commerce is in the Netherlands, before you know it, you end up, well, growing old there. So I decided I want to move on to something at the stock exchange, something more on the other side, which was the electronic patient records and e-health systems. I learned that that's not my cup of tea. If a company is at the stock exchange, things are more about value to stockholders instead of the product. And I'm more of a product guy. Then I moved to ECOT, and that's where I learned to work with DNN. It was really eye-opener for me. And I loved DNN from the get-go. And I think it was DNN 4 something at that time. So later on, I think I spent 9 years there. And it was my philosophy that you should embrace DNN, you should embrace the platform, whereas other people in the company consider it like a hinder, like a container that is in the way in some ways. They want to move forward with custom build. So, no problem there. I started my own company, focusing on DNN, trying to connect technology, content, and processes. To be honest, it took me a little bit of a while to find my sweet spot, because what do you do if you are working with developer platform and you're not a developer, right? But those three components, that's my sweet spot. So I come from the business, I understand communication, and during the course of years, I've come to understand development as well. Not as at a level that most of you guys and girls do, but I can relate to you. So what my forte is that I can now predict how changes in IT can affect the business, especially complicated businesses, larger businesses. So what will it mean to a few departments further? And of course, I'm married to a legal professional, so I know quite a bit about the law as well, which is a lot of fun. It's even harder to talk to people from a law perspective than developers, by the way. And to do more business on the development side, to learn more myself, I help companies digitalize business processes, also with PlanSnap, which I demoed a few years ago. So that's what I do and my context. So, yeah. It wasn't Thursday, so Throwback Friday, it's apparently a thing. Because I want to take you to today. And for that, you need to understand that DNS 7 is 12 years ago now. which was simply beautiful, simply powerful. You all remember that one? And it was really beautiful. I mean, we came from something pretty ugly and pretty dated in UI, and then there was DNS7, much, much better. Then a few years later, there was the introduction of 8, and that's where you saw that Evoke and DNN platform split in their release dates at that time. There was the rise of SPA, the incremental upgrades. Then there was the Telerik thingy, so we need to get rid of that one. And DNN9 was the introduction of the persona bar and URL management and SEO features. Those were pretty much the highlights on a higher level. Why is this? Well, there was something in between. It was the turn of the page day. So for people who are beyond 2015, that's where Sean Walker resigned from the company, or let go, if you will. And that's, for me, is an interesting point, because you see that the next release is all about development experiences, and all very relevant, but it was the first major release without any addition for editors or marketing professionals or whatsoever. Then the two things that are relevant for content managers are URL management and SEO features. Tiny bits, but really happy for people like me. But it's a far cry from being a mature content editing surrounding. So allowing too sexy content to become more popular, for instance, because DNN was not picking up that ball. Because all these features became Evoke features, right? Everything for the life of a content manager was in a very steep price in the Evoke version. And if you look at that, has any one of you ever worked with these components? A few yeses. What do you think about that? You think it's good, it's bad, it's rubbish? No? Because it is actually maybe not under the hood, but how to work with, that's pretty good. It's pretty amazing, it's solid. So you can say a lot about DNN Corp, but that is done very well, at least for the end user. So what do we have in 2016, 2017? That's where I'm mentioned, because there was the rise of liquid content. At that point, Evoke is ahead of the curve. Headless, it was not mentioned so much. It was actually a year later than liquid content. And because they need to sell liquid content, the marketing department woke up and they started a spaghetti strategy. So a whole bunch of stuff put together in different forms, giving it names like basic and engage and social, and hopefully something sticks. I think engage might be the most popular one they sold, whereas most people only needed basic, if they even needed Evoke at the first place. I don't think social was very popular. But this is where Headless starts, in 2017. Just from the UI perspective, and to make a point about it's done very well. The UI, how it works, everything feels like you are in control. So, points for Evoke on that one. So, how to move forward from that? Because we're going to do some different for that. We're going to take a look at content management. So, there's a lot of... If you have a large corporation, or today I'm going to talk about the City of Amsterdam, that's 20,000 people working for the city alone. So that's quite a large corp. And you have quite a large organization for that, with subject matter experts and communication professionals. There are multiple editing teams. So there's Team Social, Team Sports, there's their own news section, 30 or 50, depending on how you count, people are working in these editing teams. And that's not communication professional, by the way. The communication professional decides whether communication will be offline, online, narrowcasting, whatever. So, and that's 300 of them. Also spokespeople. So the editing teams are really just putting content there, rewriting. And there's a different marketing department, of course, and webmasters. And I'm going to take you to this case, because Amsterdam is popular for a few reasons, one of them having the red light district. So everyone, we all went to a red light district? No? Well, this is what it looks like. Red lights, they're all, most of the time, female workers there. Just windows, you can do window shopping and, well, see if there's anything you like. I think about 300 women there, and it's quite busy. But it also attracts, mostly English people, by the way, who just take the booze cruise, come to Amsterdam, smoke weed, look at the red light district, and it comes with a little bit of violence sometimes. And of course, a lot of these women are not working there totally voluntarily. So, women from Romania, Bulgaria, these parts of Europe, sometimes they are forced to work there. So it's an unsafe environment, and they said, well, we do wish to honor women who do want to work there, because it's the oldest profession in the world, but we want to give a safe environment. So we're going to try to find a new place for about 100. So we're going to skip a third from this location and try to find a new place in Amsterdam. So you can see, yeah, you want that in your backyard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
My missus has been delighted.
Yeah. So that's the challenge, because for this to communicate in the correct way, we need to have content on all the touch points of the customer journey, and all the content in the different channels need to be correct, up to date, and a lot of integrity is needed for that. So how does it work? First, we have the internal customer. So in this case, it's the mayor who proclaims, that's the mayor, by the way, this lady. So she says, well, we're done with the unsafe environment. We're done with the modern kind of slavery. We want a safe environment for sex workers. So that's what we're going to do. And we want to improve the quality of city life. And she's going to appoint a project manager for that. She's going to say, well, this is what you need to do. Find a location, because we need 100 females relocating. And for that, of course, there's a project plan, but there's a whole bunch of so-called subject matter experts. There's quite a bit of civil servants, people who know about the industry, about neighborhoods, about also how legally it's done, how to guide a process, and of course the sex workers themselves. What do they want for their new environment? And are they up to it? Because if they want to relocate, you don't want to be somewhere at the edge of the town where no customers and it's not nice and cozy. So they have wishes as well. All their knowledge will be combined in requirement analysis. And with these requirements, you just hold them, go through the city, and try to think, well, where do 100 women fit, even on a location? Is it right next to a kindergarten? Or, well, all these parameters you need to take into account and validate those locations on the requirements. And then, of course, the project manager goes back to the city council and say, well, these 3 locations, I think they could be a good suspect for that. Well, that's when the shitstorm starts, of course, because that's where the communication professional comes in. He or she will be the one guiding the process, and because, as said, you don't want that in your backyard. But in all fairness, nobody wants that, because it's a major shift in how the neighborhoods, as they know, will operate. So they're going to do everything in their power to listen to people, to guide them and say, well, it's all going to be fine. And by the way, we have 100 women. They have a right to live and work as well. We have to work together somehow. So town hall meetings are always quite popular. Emotions get real high there, hot. I don't know if that's typically Dutch, but we also have participation meetings. And more often than not, people participating feel like they're not really participating, they're not even listened to, because at the end of the day, a decision needs to be made. And there are always people not happy with that decision. But this is as good as we can make it. During that time, we are providing the information on all these channels. So if you pick up the phone, you need to get the same information about 3 locations, for instance, as if you would look on the website or have on the meetings. So the web editors, they will get a briefing from the communication professional who said, well, this is the information that's needed on the website. Web editors start working, make it proper for the web, especially special attention for mobile, of course. And this is their primary job. So then it goes back to the subject matter expert to verify if it's still legal what is being said. So if she says no, it's not being published. And of course, what happens more often than not is that the sentence will be changed in a way that's totally ununderstandable. So it will go back and forth a few times. So just to do this in a picture. So there's the project manager, he has the communication officer. The communication officer will discuss with legal, well, what are the parameters for me to work with? Is there a time schedule, for instance? Am I obligated by law to do something with the feedback we get from the people joining the meetings? All these things. And then with that package, it's gone to the web editor. And then, no, it's not being published. It goes back first to the communication professional because it needs to be submitted for review again. So, and when it's submitted for review and somebody touched it, it needs to be reviewed by legal again. And by the way, all this time, of course, the city council and ultimately the mayor needs to be in the loop as well, because that entire process is on their account. So, yeah, this is a cynic comment, right? Legal always has a comment. It is really how it works. So, the project manager, this is just one part. The project manager has many balls in the air, and is just getting advice from the communication. This is what I think we gotta do. And if that's all okay, then it gets published. So there are quite a bit of steps. Is that interesting for the workflow, by the way? In reality, the first step where it will be put in content management system is basically the web editor. That's where it starts getting within the CMS, and then later on, legal or communication only reviews. But the first step is from the web editor. And project management, the city council obviously never have anything to do within the CMS. They will need, by the way, unpublished preview. So you can always say, well, here's the Word document, this is what we're going to publish. They hate that. They want to see the actual page. So the preview page that's not published, that's what they want to see, that's what they want to verify. So this is how it looks if you combine it all. So, and every step, because if you approve something for a step further, it has a comment box saying, well, yes, I approve, because of this, or no, I don't approve, I reject because of this, and then it goes back one step in the workflow. So you need the date timestamp, you need the author, you need the approver, you need a comment. That's all being logged and documented, because at any point in time, people might say, I want every document about the decision-making process, and I want every document about what has been published. So every government body needs to have an archive, but also a trace of the decision tree. So this is what is needed for the workflow. So circling back to Headless, and it says commerce, but Headless. What I did not mention, but it is true, at this point in time, the City of Amsterdam has, every channel has its own management system. I mean, if you buy a narrowcasting system, the display, it always has their own content management system. And that's okay, because most of the time, it's not the same content. It's a shorter draft, or it's just a bigger picture, because you need to be able to read it if you're just riding a bike 15 kilometers per hour. So it's different content. The phone, if you call the City of Amsterdam, they have this huge knowledge base, just basically frequently asked questions, but it will have some decision tree, like where are you from? Oh, you're from that part of town. What's your question? How's that? So with these parameters, they drill down to the correct frequently asked question, and they provide information there. So there's a knowledge base. And of course, participation meetings is not done in the content management system either. It's more often than not just written notes. So that's very false sensitive. So, and also because there are different teams, they also all have their own content editors, which is weird. And if you have 20,000 people working in the same institution, then it's bound to happen that people are not talking to each other at the right time, because people go on holidays or sick or whatever, or leave the company. So that is challenging, and several times a year it just goes bust. And button one is very important, that we say you need to be able to trust the government, which is a bit of a thing in the Netherlands, by the way, but that's something else. So the content must be 100% correct. You can even get lawsuits if it's wrong. So what is desired is, of course, one big database with content, right? Sounds like the plausible thing to do. And because that guarantees the content integrity. If you say, well, the tax rate is 21%, for instance, and next year it will be 25, you edit it in one place, it cannot happen that there are other pages still showing 21%. So that 21% needs to be 25 everywhere at the correct place. So it's not just about paragraph content, but also words that needs to be changed. It's the same with laws, by the way. To say, well, I want every document about a certain process, it was called the WOB. So it's a law about the openness of the government, and WOB is now WOO. Basically the same thing, but you have to scan 20,000 pages to see if there are referrals to the old name. So most of the time they use site improve for that. You can create a policy which will scan all content or HTML for these words, and then you get a to-do list where you need to change. But it would be much better if there was integrity in itself. So you have this one big content repo, and the theory says, well, just build a front end and we'll pull the content from you, for you. Easy as that. And we can have the same editing team work with that. So we centralize that process. And if we have that, this is the target. This is where we want to move to. Anyone ever migrated to a headless system before? Okay, well, you're in for a treat. because we all know for every migration it's not easy. Because, and you need to have done several migrations to understand that, but because there will be a new structure, and it's not content, but everything else that's related to the content, like the publishing dates, and all links will, or assets, all images will be broken, stuff like that. So this is quite, especially if you have 20,000 pages to migrate, how to start. And then there's the thing of backlinks and canonicals. How do you have an inventory of the canonicals of all these pages? I mean, they need to be the same in the destination CMS as well. So, and if the setup will be different, all backlinks will be broken, generating 404s, your SEO value will drop tremendously. So, there's a lot to take in account. But the problem with migrating to Headless is that it's even more complicated. Because you need to have those 20,000 pages, you need to divide them in several sections. Like the content structure into sexy or in open content, you need to break up the consisting pages. So the classic migration, you have a page, you move to another page. I mean, it's technically complicated, but it can be done. This is when you go to Headless. Every page needs to be divided in several sections, functionality, and this is in fact the easy one. Because this is how it looks a little more nicer, I think. And it also shows that if you are migrating, let's say, an author block to a new structure, then you can choose to have author as a separate object or a separate content block. So you get referrals. So it's not 1-on-1, but 1 to 3 times the complication. And even more so because every block there has separate fields, of course. And suddenly you have required fields and different parameters for those. And if you ever worked with a headless system, you might know, yes, technically it's sane, but is no way to work with because 80% of what you're used to, it's simply not there. Can you think of something you would be missing? Things like this. I mean, very basic stuff. There is no preview because most of these headless systems say, well, I don't know what you want to preview because there's this piece of content. You're not editing a page, you're editing a piece of content. But that piece of content by itself does not know where it resides. If it's on a website or in narrowcasting or something like that. So all these previews can be done, but it mostly builds, custom built, in the front end. Because that front end knows what it is. So that's weird. Linking, because City of Amsterdam is migrating to Salesforce. Well, there's a challenge because you cannot link in the WYSIWYG in Salesforce. Yeah, you can link, but the entire URL, you cannot link to ID. You cannot link to a page. Yeah, you can link to a page if you copy paste the URL, which means if you move something or delete something, it's 404 galore. You cannot manage that. And there's also not an overview of all 404 links. So you have no idea what is breaking. As I mentioned, the WYSIWYG, you cannot change the WYSIWYG. It's very poor. You can, I think bold is there, and pretty much it. And they always say, well, we do that on purpose because it's headless. We want to put out the HTML as clean as possible. So, very bare bone WYSIWYG. Insertion of buttons, no. If you want to do that, you need to think of templating a page and define where you want a button. And the button will always be there. There are loopholes to work around that, but it's simply not there. You need to define where a button resides on the page, giving the content manager no freedom to do their work. So, things like redirect management, it's not there. SEO, no. It's, yeah, you can do meta tags, but luckily Google doesn't do anything with meta tags. So that's, it's all just about headless. Some other things that's not there. And all these things we take for granted within DNN, right? Except for the archive, is something we like as well. One more thing, by the way, which we also don't have, is notifications. Like, if I log in, I'm the owner of a page, that I will get a pop-up saying, well, you need to edit this page because you said so. So, why did we want to do this again? Well, we wanted that separation of content. And I'm not a developer, but as I understand is that development is much faster for headless systems. I don't know what a composable architecture is, but it was mentioned as one of the plus sides as well. What is composable architecture?
I think the idea is simply that, for example, you could use a different front-end system for creating the website.
Yeah.
Use the content, like Sitecore could have the data, and you could compose it with a non-Sitecore output system. Okay.
For me, it's like the marketing department was scribbling some words, but yeah, okay. So I got this feeling, right? It's the classic picture about how the project went all sideways, because it's not what the content managers needed for the initial issue, right? This is a famous picture, right? So, because what we needed was actual structured content. We wanted to have content integrity. We wanted to have all these things that we taken for granted. So, this is what we needed, and what we got is this. There is no comparison, there's not even a sensible link between the need and what we got. So,
I'd like to add one thing as well.
What?
We have a customer that uses Sitecore, it's a bank,
Yeah.
for something approximately like this. And it's insane how difficult the data model becomes and how hard it is to even understand what you're typing in anymore and what the impact will be. So it's like super
Absolutely.
Great.
Because very, for instance, with accordions, for instance, you create an accordion, but the other structure is a list of accordion, and you can nest them, and you have to set up really properly from the get-go, otherwise you end up hurting yourself later on. So, yeah. So I know the challenge. I know the feeling. It is really, really hard to be a developer. And from business side, it's always easy to say what you want, right? Because you don't have to develop it. So, my conclusion is that from my perspective, there's nobody who really wants headless. So, and what we got is an environment where content managers cannot no longer do their work properly anymore. And that's a damn shame. For larger corporations, because the development needs increase, and a lot of work moves away from the content editor towards functional maintenance, development, etc. So you actually need to reorganize. And most of the time, if you have a project of, let's say, 2 or 3 years, because if you want to move 20,000 pages, it will take 2 or 3 years. And it probably takes about a year before you realize what it actually means, and that you need to reorganize the company. So there's a lot of extra budget needed for that one as well. So these are my lessons for also one Sitecore migration as well. So Well, for the city of Amsterdam, why did they select it anyway? Well, because they wanted more than just a website. They wanted an entire solution. They said the tender was about the best of breed and instead of best of suite. Best of breed means that parts of the entire solution will probably not meet expectations, but as a whole, we believe that this is the best solution. What we got, the call center is one of the major points within the city servants. Most questions are asked by phone or in the town hall. So the knowledge base, the frequently asked questions, that is pretty much the center of the hub. And instead of thinking maybe we should do that differently, maybe we should put online first, they started from that one, and they decided they want the CRM. And because they want to have more personalized information. So if you ever requested a permit for your car to park, and you asked that in the town hall, and 2 weeks later you grab the phone, hey, how's my permit moving along? Then everyone has the same information because they know you. That's the idea. So this combination is the vision. So you call because your phone number is known within the system, they know it's you, they have your history of previous contacts, and a decision tree will lead them to the correct frequently asked question. And a frequently asked question basically is a piece of content which all resides in the same repo. So that is the entire solution that they're looking for. One important thing is that they will not call my company to realize this, right? They want big names. In this case, it's Deloitte, like PricewaterhouseCoopers. Maybe 20,000 people as well, maybe even more. The big name, it's not meeting the expectation when it comes to knowledge or experience. So, but it's a guarantee for them that there's continuity. So, if the developer moves along, then there will be other developers. Not all even not up to par, but there's continuity. And because Deloitte is partner of Salesforce, they sell Salesforce. Same with Sitecore. Nobody really wants Sitecore, but it's being sold by partners who get a kickback fee if they sell enough Sitecore licenses. So, if we match what was needed with the current state of DNN, of course there are things that we do not have, but there are a lot of things we do have. I think taxonomy might need a little bit of TLC for it, but it's there. 404 detection. Anyone knows that we have that too? So it's a SEO redirect module from 40 Fingers, which is a really helpful tool. So you don't have to scroll yourself or try to click everything. Do we have a tokenization of words? I myself use or live tokens or my tokens to make that happen. So in that you have one place where you define your 21 or 25%. So even version history and the differences visualized. I mean, Mandeep's may not be the popular vote, but it already does this in a very brilliant way, by the way. The same goes with workflows. It's already in the Mandeep solutions. It's already in EasyDNN News, I think. So we can do quite a bit. I mean, if you want to reuse content, it's there. If you have multiple front ends and you want to reuse content, it's there. Oh, site group, it says. So this is where I define the tokens for the 21%. The redirect management, it's if you have hundreds of redirect, it's not the best solution. It's not really giving you control, but it's there. APIs, now that is the big discriminator, because that is what we do want, and we do have. This is for those, is anyone, I don't think many people work with live HTML, right? Nobody? No. Well, top left, that's how live HTML looks. If you can compare two versions, and it will show what has been added, what has been deleted, and by whom, and there's also the comment box there. There's something else. The workflow management within Mandeep's is very granular. You can create as much steps as you want with the approve and reject functionality. So, and in fact, it's the best I've seen. Also, way better than, for instance, Sitecore. I mean, it does have workflow management, but it's not very nice. It's not very easy to maintain. You always need a developer to add an extra stage for workflow management. This can all be done by the administrator. Here's the SEO redirect module, giving a nice view on URLs that has been called but resulted in a 404, and you can even define what page it should be pointing. So, and because it counts how many visits it was, you get a priority for that one. So, we are very close to, well, winning this thing. Because we only need a few features to make the step, to make it happen, to have all the functionality for large corporations and government bodies. WC, so it's accessibility. That's a very important one. If you have that on board, it's in fact the only reason most government bodies buy SiteImprove, because of that one. It's the only tool that will crawl your website and say, well, these are the issues you have. So, do we need more to win? Yeah. We need bigger companies to offer DNN. Might not be able to be Deloitte or PricewaterhouseCoopers, but maybe somewhere in the middle. If there's a company consisting of 500 or 1,000 people, then it's large enough to be taken seriously into account. And connectors. One of the things in Evoke was that they have multiple connectors. Every larger system has quite an impressive repo with connectors on board. So what we have been doing with Azure, we could do that for other systems. I don't think a system like Salesforce is the best solution, for instance, but if we could connect with LiveCaller or other software that would support the phone, then we're already there. Because we're losing money, we're losing business because other entries appear, and they will offer a CMS. That's how Salesforce got big, for instance. They offer a CMS, but it's not worthy of CMS. I don't know what happened there. So, although you don't need Headless, what you do need is an API. Because, well, the website is there. There is one content repo, basically, and you can pull any content from there. And it still allows us, as content managers, to have multiple versions of the same content, because most of the time it's not the same for every channel. So, for instance, if you want to create a marketing website, the tone of voice will probably be very different than on a corporate website. So, just these small things. DNN is a decoupled system. So, we don't need Headless, but we want decoupled. And because you get the entire CMS, people like me can still live on and do their work. And what would be a great, providing a peace of mind, is that you can migrate at your own pace. You can move a page and later on divide the page into multiple sections. You don't have to do the big bang and hope for the best. So this gives me much more control in any project and a lot less stress with the editors, because they have been working on a content structure since last July. There was a lot of work. Could be faster, should have been faster, I know, but right now they are doing so-called content mapping sessions to see how all their content will fit into the new content model, into the new structure. And I've seen some tears, fear in the eyes. It's not a pretty sight. This would be a much more sensible approach. Oh yeah, this is what I meant, so you can migrate partially. And that is what I had to tell. And that is what I think about Headless. Does it ring any bells here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You're using Evoke?
Sorry?
You're using Evoke?
No, I'm not yet. No. Who can afford that?
No, I just mentioned, because you mentioned plenty of it.
Yeah, because that was for me to explain how DNN got to a stage where it is right now. Because all the good stuff for content editors were left out from the platform. And what I did, because at that time I used to be a DNN partner, like you could sell. So I did have a developer license or something like that. So I got to work a little bit with Evoke. And that felt really nice. Especially that one of the things we always lacked is that you can provide a login for editors. And they are not given the keys to the castle. So that's much more content manager oriented.
Yeah,
And by the way, the same things, because many of the things that Mandeep has created, he basically stole from Evoke. Like the content comparison was more I think the entire social, the gamification and stuff like that, all these Mandeep modules, it's tying together. It's pretty much Evoke social. So, any questions? All right. Well, then I suggest we have some coffee. So,
sure.
yeah.